off the season. If you would, just kind of go ahead and I've had a chance to take a look at the film and everything now. Just kind of go ahead and relive that a little bit and your thoughts on the game.
Yeah, again, appreciate it, and again, really proud of our guys, and once again, the environment that we had on Saturday night, that was obviously huge. It was huge for the university, huge for our players, alumni, fan base, former players, our students that showed up, the local parishes and communities. So, number one, just going back and acknowledging that, and just the environment that was there, and that we encouraged for those same group of people to show up every Saturday. We're at home. And make our stadium a great advantage to have home field advantage. So, with that said, just going back and evaluating, looking at tape, and just realizing and knowing we got still a lot of room for growth and improvement. Going back and correcting, mistakes and MAs that were there on tape, and just going to continue to coach that. And demand and get that we get those things fixed going forward.
We'll go ahead and open up questions about Saturday's game.
I hate to put you on the spot, but can you confirm Burton lost for the year, broken leg?
Yeah, Burton will be down for the season. He'll be down for the season.
I guess just top corner preseason all conference. I know just how big of a loss is what your thought on him being done for the season.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you lose a guy for the season, and especially in that, I mean, obviously it affects you. The positive for him is he'll be back next season. He said this will be his redshirt year. So, but just when you lose Colby like that, you not only lose him as a player, but you lose him as a person, his leadership. He carries a lot of intangibles about him. Is obviously his experience and that who he is as a player. But just. Fortunate that he's going to recover from this and be able to come back for that fifth season.
Do you know anything about the status of Darian Dunn? I know he went down late in the game on Saturday.
I'm not going to answer any other injury questions. Just that Colby will be done for the year.
Would you like to address his reaction? Did you get to speak with him afterwards?
To Colby's?
Yeah.
No, I mean he's taking the stride and he's got a lot of faith and he knows that he's going to get an opportunity to come back next year. So I think he was blessed and excited about that.
When you looked at the film, I guess what in the win impressed you the most that your team did?
I mean, I think we'll go back and looking at all three sides of it, just our effort. That's the one thing you go back and look. Our guys played with great effort throughout the entire game, and that's something you can obviously continue to coach off of and coach with. We're gonna obviously encourage that every Saturday. But the effort our guys played with, the tenacity that we played with, the physicality, really in all three phases is something that we pulled from the win as obviously a huge positive and things that we'll encourage, to continue going forward.
The fact that you didn't have new offense, but you didn't have a turnover, does that encourage you to implement more each week than you normally would, or because you don't have to really take a step back and correct anything on that?
As far as that, every day we practice, every day we preach, taking care of the football, and that's something we've made a priority in our program about that, about the football, and that's something we emphasize. We do every day in practice, and just something that we need to continue to do this season is take care of the football, and when you do that, it gives you an opportunity and sets you up for an opportunity to get the results that you want.
When you look back at the penalties, obviously there were a couple penalties that were a little questionable, but were you able to, when you guys looked at the film, were you able to determine the penalties that, basically were self-inflicted as opposed to some that were kind of maybe a little questionable?
Yeah, we were able to go back and look at tape and view the things, that we thought were, questionable or objective, and now that we've looked at tape, we realize what was, we believe was correct and what was incorrect.
Do you feel like we were able to wear them down over the course of the game? And was that conditioning or depth or both?
Yeah, I think just conditioning. We had a really great summer. Guys did a great job. Fall camp's been really good. I think towards the back end of that, some of that was able to show We got to continue to do those things. We got to continue to, live the way that we live, which is to get stronger, as the season goes on, and just continue to, take care of our bodies, from a nutrition aspect, from a hydration aspect, from a rest aspect. Those are all three things that, are vital to us that we talk about and coach and teach our guys on. And our guys got to take the discipline, have the discipline to make sure they take care of those three things themselves.
For you guys selling the new program to the kids, and see how important was it to see them have success right off the bat, especially with the conditioning, because you kind of took over the second half, kind of fuels the rest of the year.
Yeah, I think it's huge, and then just now there's some solid evidence, with all three phases, with just continuation of the program for them to go out and have the success that they had, and also identify the mistakes that were made, and not only to a lesson but eliminate those going forward, and just clean our game up in all three phases where we go out and have a chance to play a really clean game. So I think those are things that are still out there. That's still out there for us to go correct and go fix, and continue to just clean our game up.
Since Oklahoma State played on Friday, did you watch any of the game on Friday, and have you already started breaking down film? What do you see?
I didn't see any of the game on Friday. We started last night watching Okie State. really good football team. Coach Gunny's done a great job there. I glanced over some stuff just looking. He's been there for 15 years, and his record there speaks for itself, but a very successful program. They've done a great job, obviously, year in, year out, competitive in the Big 12, on the things they've been able to do, especially, on the offensive side of the ball, and they've got that kind of team out there again this season.
They're not gonna be surprised by it, because they know you up there, Tulsa being at Tulsa and being at Texas, so, just your thoughts of going into that place and being able to play a team like them, and what you expect from them, and what do you think they expect from you?
Yeah, really go back. Again, our focus, this will be like this. This is going to be a constant through the season. We go back and we're going to focus on the McNeese Cowboys, and those things that we identified, we've got to go out and get correct. It's something that we've been talking about all the way through camp. It's just when we go out and there's a scheme out there in all three phases that coaches go out and correct those. Good players take those corrections, go correct them on the field. So those are things we're working on right now. Yesterday's video and being able to coach our guys and meet with them, and then carrying back into practice tomorrow, that we'll be able to take those corrections, now from the board to the field, and get those things done and corrected and headed back in the right direction. But we really got to go focus on us. There's things that we need to fix and do better. And our guys will do that. They'll take that. They'll rise to that challenge, and they're dedicated to all being really good football players as individuals, but continue to be a better football team as we go ahead and push forward.
Coach, back to the penalties. 177 is pretty eye-popping, give or take. Call here or there. It's still a lot of yards. From the tape work that you saw, was it a combination of lack of discipline in certain areas, the personal fouls, mentally in the game? Again, readdress that in regards to what you derive from that.
Yeah, it was a mix of both. There's times we need to be more disciplined football team, and there were some penalties that are completely controllable by us that we didn't control, and those are things that we'll get corrected, and they got to be corrected, per player and position. So those things will be corrected. And then the thing about some of the others, the thing going back, when you're a physical football team and you're physical and you play at an up-tempo pace, some of that stuff is naturally going to happen when you play to the whistle, and all that. Some of those things are going to kind of naturally occur, but the things that we know were incorrect, we've identified, and our guys, we got to go make sure those do not continue as we go forward.
And back to the Burton Boyd. Is there a particular player? Is it Richardson that will man that spot? Foster, who?
Yeah, see Rich coming up in and playing the remainder of the game, and he'll obviously step in that role. There's some other guys. We'll continue to look at depth-wise just to see what that exact depth is at those four corner safety spots.
When it came to the running game, I know you were heavy, like pounding it inside, and it worked. It was slow at first. It eventually worked, and you wore them down. Is there kind of any plan on like adding kind of some more perimeter run, or was just a scheme thing that Southern did?
Yeah, I mean, just a scheme. You know, we've got different things in our arsenal of how we want to attack people on Saturdays, and just kind of depending on what scheme they give us and what we need to take advantage of, what we'll do. We thought those things we did against them was what we felt good about, and we ended up getting the results that we wanted as the game went on.
How close does Oklahoma State's offense mirror yours?
I mean, there's probably some similarities, but I mean, I think it's in a different, it's kind of a different deal of how they do it and how they've done it in the past. I mean, they're spread, and again, I hadn't seen that side of the ball yet. With Spencer Sanders, their quarterback, he's kind of a dual threat guy. I know he rushed for over 100 and threw for over 200. So, I'm not real sure how they're doing it right now with him pulling the trigger.
They really attacked the perimeter kind of with him, more so than just the dive and the follow. They really tried to get him outside. Do you going to bring up linebackers up for that to try to stop him, keep him in the pocket, or?
I mean, we hadn't gotten that far yet. You know what I mean? We hadn't gotten that far yet. We'll let Coach Gush and those guys make those scheme decisions.
Coach, it's been a while. If you go back to the calendar, maybe, I guess, 11 or 12, where you were FCS and possible entering into a game like this. Because your travels have put you as one of the guys that are trying to knock off. How do you approach a game like this? Stillwater, the environment, Big 12 versus Southern. What's your approach to the game?
Going back, just focus on us, and the biggest thing is that we need to go control the things that we can control, really in all three phases. We know they're a good football team, and we know what we got to grow to from week 1 to week 2. So those are the things we're going to make a heavy emphasis of this week going into this football game. And go play well, and I'm being on the flip side of it. You just, every Saturday, you never know what can happen. Got to go out and play and do those things and put yourself in a situation to be successful, and that's what we'll plan and do this Saturday.
Do you draw on the Northern Iowa, taking Iowa State to three overtimes, Georgia State over Tennessee? Do you bring that up in any way? Do you use that?
Yeah, I mean, there's so much parity in college football. You just look across the country, really over the last few years. I mean, things have changed. Just how recruiting's changed, and just the success that is throughout the country. And where you look up in any Saturday, you got to go play well, or at any point in time, somebody can get beat. So, but we'll just go focus on us and make sure we're doing what we're supposed to be doing.
Coach Gundy, during he had a teleconference earlier this morning, and he mentioned how important it is for these money games, just because these FCS programs they need it from kind of a budget standpoint. So I just want to see you've been on both sides. Just what do you think of how important this is? Because there are people that tend to think that the FBS schools shouldn't play the FCS schools as much anymore.
Yeah, I mean, you probably ask 10 different coaches or 10 different people, you're gonna get 10 different answers. I think there's positives on both sides of it. Obviously, from a financial standpoint, I think it helps FCS schools and helps their athletic departments. So I think there's positives in it. You get an opportunity to play in an environment that you're gonna play in. And then you get an opportunity, to provide some financial aid, for the athletic department.
McNeese has had a history of playing well in these games. Can you draw on that, and what does it mean to play well for a recruiting standpoint?
Yeah, I think so. I think you can, and kind of going back what you're saying, just you go back and look. I think last season there were 7 upsets, FCS to FBS. So, again, it's just a lot of parity in college football. Any Saturday you just look what's happened over the last 2 weeks in college football. And as it continues through the season and really through the last few years. But yeah, the tradition that, McNeese has had through the years of playing FBS opponents, either close and or beating them, really, stands for itself. So, but again, just going back, like I've said all along, I mean, we've got things we need to go fix. We got things we need to work on going forward, and that's where the emphasis is for the McNeese Cowboys.
The Southland Conference had a pretty good weekend. McNeese beats Southern, Central Arkansas beats Western Kentucky, Jacksonville, Southeastern beats Jacksonville State. Even Sam Houston played New Mexico pretty close. Just what do you think of that? What does it say about kind of the depth and parity of the conference?
Yeah, I mean, the conference is going to be loaded again this year, and just as y'all all know, I mean, there's really good coaches in this conference. There's really good players in this conference. When you got that combination, you're gonna see that throughout the conference, and as this thing continues to go on, especially when conference, games open up. So, I mean, just what most people are used to in the South, and I think it's back again at its highest peak with really quality coaches and really quality teams, and high competition. That this thing will go all the way through the end of the season.
Another glance of Cody on tape. Did his performance exceed expectations? You looking back on and says, okay, wow, look at here.
Yeah, I mean, I was just with everybody on our football team, but especially your quarterback, just to go through a game with him. It's one thing to go through practice and scrimmages, but to go through an entire football game, with your quarterback and be able to fill him out. And again, a guy that's played some, that's got some experience, but like we talked about yesterday in the quarterback meeting, was just that. Every snap he takes, he just is gaining that much more experience. And so those are things that he'll continue to do. I mean, he's a locked-in guy, wants to be a really good player, puts in film work time and study time to do that and grow his knowledge. And that's something he's continuing to do. But yeah, I was just excited to get that under our belt. So now we can start on that platform and just continue to coach and grow from there.
Yeah, and speaking of film, back to the Southern game, what did you see in regards to the two long balls for touchdowns? Was it a breakdown, or the cornerback simply just got beat or was out of position? What did you see?
Yeah, I mean, the kid, a little bit of both. I mean, the kid from Southern's a good player. He's on scholarship too, and I think that's a transfer kid from Minnesota. That's a Louisiana kid. I mean, he's a good player, and but nothing that just continue to coach and just play in the next play.
What else?